So in 2016, I had this idea, I had this plan, or an idea that I wanted to walk across the New Forest. And I had this idea that I thought it was going to be like a walkabout. I'd go, and I had the plan that it would take 24 hours. It would be one of those things where I just go off and walk for 24 hours and then someone would come and pick me up afterwards. And I started actually looking at how long it would take me to walk across the New Forest and realised that I'd probably do it quite quickly. So I then started thinking about how I could create a route that would allow me to go almost 24 hours. And I started plotting this route out on all of the best parts. Then I just I left it for a bit. And then I just got to a place in the summer. I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that walk. And I did a bit more prep and a couple of training walks and then just made a plan. And I was doing it like with a full sort of backpack and normal walking stuff. So like quite heavy shoes, walking trousers, typical what you think of as walking apparel. And I think my pack weighed about 10 kilograms and I had everything, you know, I had like a bivvy bag, I had a sleeping mat, I had a flask, like an actual physical heavy flask, first aid kit enough for 10 people, survival kit, all, and mountain waterproofs and everything. And I set off as a hiker to do this thing. And I did it fully self-sufficient and walked across the forest to strategic places where I could get more food and more drink. And it was kind of like just doing a normal hike, and I loved it. I really did enjoy it, but it was hard work with that amount of weight. And I did still complete the route, and it was 82 kilometres, and I managed to do it in under 18 hours. And I thought, what could I do that in if I'd actually lost a lot of this weight? So I looked at all my stuff and thinking, why are you carrying a multi-tool? It weighs a ton. And then I just started to look at the whole ultra running scene and all the super lightweight stuff that they use. And I got really quite into it, but not from the point of view of being a runner, because I can only really run for about 10 miles before I start to switch off. Either physically or mentally, I can't really go beyond that point for some reason, but I can walk for England. So I looked at all this stuff. I was very inspired by a lot of these people, and it just kind of morphed into this idea of sport walking, that it is in essence almost like ultra running, just walking instead. So you take the same approach, you train for it, you think of it like a sport. You consider nutrition, hydration, the equipment you use, everything is to try and make it easier, make you get faster, make you be able to go longer. And also you've got this element which is long distance walking, so you're looking at doing something for 10 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours, whatever it is, and you're getting real value for money in a sense. And it just clicked, and I started to buy kit, and it was like lightweight training shoes, lightweight stuff. I started to use an ultra running vest instead of a rucksack, really scaled down everything, and just started walking, and it just kind of went from there. And then I entered Race to the Stones in 2017, which is a bit of a test, a bit of a proof of concept, almost like for me to test out if this approach could actually work, and that worked out really well. And I did a lot better than I thought I was going to do. I kind of finished in the top 50% of everyone, that was walkers and runners. And I started passing all these runners in the last sort of 40, 50k, and they'd kind of reached their limit and they were starting to walk a lot, but because it was the real tortoise and hare thing. And I just started to get like a second wind. And I wasn't passed in that last, I think I was passed by 2 people. That was it in that last 40k. And I just kept seeing head torches in the distance, and I just got ridiculously competitive. And every head torch I saw, it was like, right, I'm having you. And I would just reel them in. And it just felt brilliant. And I came out of it, finished 100 kilometres in under 16 hours, and I just thought, yeah, this proof of concept, it works. And that's bit of a long way of explaining it, but that's basically how it all came about. And I've just then continued to walk since then, and just done the South Downs Way 100 miles in 27 and 56 minutes. So the concept does seem to work.
So if you were sort of just talking to people that go out walking, where would they start?
Yeah, so for people starting out, it's just that thing of setting an achievable goal. It's not about walking 100 kilometres or 100 miles or even 50 kilometres. It could be 10k, 5k. A lot of my training sessions are just 5k long. And it is about making some small adaptations to the way you walk, not to learn a new technique, because this is the thing with sport walking, it's not a technique. It's purely having a goal and trying to achieve that goal. That's what the sport is. The challenge, that's where the sport lies, is the challenge. The rest of it is you can walk however you want. You can Nordic walk, you can race walk, you can power walk, or you can do what I do, just walk normally fast. And it literally is as simple as put some trainers on, say I'm going to walk my favourite footpath, and I'm going to time it, see how long it takes me. And then once you've got that knowledge, you go, okay, well, I feel like I could go a bit faster. So I'm now going to do that again some other time and see how quickly I can do it. And that, before, that simple process, you've set yourself a challenge. It's like, how quickly can I walk my favourite footpath? And it is then just a question of what other challenges appeal. A lot of people like doing charity events. Whether it's Race to Stones or the Ultra Challenge events, and they're doing it to raise money, so that's their goal, is to raise money. But equally, they could also set themselves almost as a sideline, a little personal challenge, that yes, they want to raise a certain amount of money, but also they want to complete it within a certain timescale. And in a way, then that's something for everyone. They get a personal satisfaction out of it, and they also raise the money that they want. And that's essentially all there is to it. Everything else about being a sport walker or about sport walking is around enabling you to do the challenge. So your everyday walks, they just kind of become training, because you're walking, you're just out there walking.
So it's a mentality.
It's funny because I do see it, although it is all about taking on challenges, I see sport walking as broader than that, in the sense of, if you're a sport walker, you see every walk you do potentially as something that's contributing. So even if you're just going out for a relaxing walk in the evening with your family, you could view that, probably as an athlete would, you could use that as a recovery walk, as just shaking the legs out, and every walk is great. And a lot of people kind of will take the view that, yeah, but if you're walking fast, you're not getting the most out of the walk and what people like from walking, which is to saunter along, look at the view, look at the animals. But the reality is, even if you're walking as fast as I do or somebody else might, say my typical speed is somewhere between 7 kilometres an hour. You've got to be hurtling along to miss the landscape. Because you're walking, you are aerobically mainly staying within your capabilities. That's again something else that's slightly different to running. When you're running, certainly from my experience, when I'm running, I'm working a lot harder. So I tend to focus much more on just running. When I'm walking, I can be working really hard, but it's still well within my aerobic capacity. It's more that the legs will probably let you down before your lung capacity lets you down. And you can talk, you can look at the landscape, you can enjoy the landscape. You can still stop and take photographs, or still stop and look at something. You can pause your watch if it's a training session, or if you're doing a challenge. It's like, it's your challenge. You can do it however you want to. The fact that you're still challenging yourself still makes it a sport walk. So yeah, it is. I think of it as an outlook, like of viewing walking as a type of athletic endeavour, but it's just an approach really to it, you know. That's the main thing.
So what equipment would you need to start? Because you talk about having a watch. I mean, what do you see as the basics requirements for kind of this approach?
You can get started literally with a pair of training shoes, because having a sports watch or a fitness tracker is going to make things easier for you, because a key thing, and it's more about motivation, is being able to see how you're progressing, how you're improving. So being able to track what you do is important, and sport walking does contain these elements of sport science, in the sense that you're seeking to be a better version of yourself. So yes, you do want to try and find ways to be able to analyse how you've got on, but you don't actually need that. You can do it purely with a watch, time, calculate the distance you've walked and the time it took you to do that. You can work that out with mental arithmetic, how long it's taken you, what your speed is, what your pace is. So to get started with sport walking, you just need to have a desire to challenge yourself a bit, and to use walking as your means of taking on some sport or taking on a challenge. And you just need some comfortable shoes. I mean, lightweight training shoes are the best because they're the lightest options. But if you've got normal walking shoes, you can still do it. I would always advocate moving away from boots, because you want to be looking at how you can adapt the most efficient walking style, not technique, but efficient walking style. And boots, whilst they're great for clambering around mountains, for country walking, they are going to hamper you in terms of being able to move faster. Obviously they're a lot heavier. So just some ordinary running training shoes, you can go off-road on gravel tracks, and that's all you need. Moving up from that, obviously if you're then starting to do challenge events and things, you will need some equipment, because you'll be expected to take certain things with you if you're doing an event. So you'll need a rucksack. The better option is to have a running vest, a trail running vest, with about maybe 10 litres of capacity to it. You need to be thinking about carrying food and drink. So I use a running vest that's got 2 pouches on the front, so I can have soft flasks, which are these, I suppose, like flasks just made out of soft rubber. So as you drink, they get smaller and lighter. If you carry a rigid flask, you've still got the weight of that flask. Again, it's all about these, like what Team Sky would call marginal gains, you know, that sort of thing. And then in terms of clothing, you're looking again at lightweight running kit, because it's stuff that's more technical fabric, so it wicks away sweat. Carrying a rucksack or something on your back, you're going to get some sweat on the back, so you need to have stuff that's light and airy. And that's pretty much it. The shoes are the most important thing. You've got to have well-fitting shoes that are going to be comfortable enough to go a reasonable distance. And then it really is just a question of being able to stay hydrated and fueled to do what you're trying to do, because by nature you are putting more effort into it than if you're just going for a walk.
So what other sort of things do you do alongside your walking to keep your body, I guess, when you're talking about those sort of long distance walks, to keep your body in shape?
So for me, the sort of the challenge distance would be somewhere between 100 kilometres and 100 miles. But you're not doing that sort of distance on your day-to-day walking, and you're not even going to go close to that distance in training. I would seriously advocate for this as much as anything, you know, a cross-training approach. So I run a lot. In a way, I run because it's quicker, so you can do the same distance faster than if I were to walk. But I mix running and walking. Running is really good for just building that aerobic capacity, so that you can physically go faster in terms of your breathing and that sort of thing. It's also good for building muscular endurance and leg strength. But at the same time, the real basis of the training would be, say, at weekends when you've got more time, and that is to do longer distances, sort of like 20, 25 kilometres, something like that. I also like cycling because that works a different set of muscles. And again, cycling is brilliant for building leg strength, for sport walking. And you can kind of cross-fertilise the two. I mean, after a year of serious sport walking and doing Race to the Stones, I cut my parkrun PB, my 5k PB, by 24 seconds, which is, any runner will tell you, that amount of a reduction in your PB is massive. And what you start to notice is how each helps the other. So the running helps sport walking, cycling helps sport walking as well. But I also do strength work with weights, again, because you need to support what you're doing by having strong muscles. I love canoeing when I can, which is good for the upper body, because again, upper body stuff and core strength is important, especially if you're going long distances, 80 kilometres, 100 kilometres. Come the end of it, if you're kind of slumped like that, that's because your core's not working. And it's all about, I suppose, building that resilience, so that because everything's focused on your challenge, whatever that challenge is, whether it's the challenge for that year or the challenge for that month or the challenge for that week, it's all about being in the best shape to do that challenge so you can achieve your goal. So the broader the training, as long as you're doing enough mileage with your walking, or walking and running, because that's the way I approach it, is having a goal for the amount of mileage I'm doing each week, whether it's walking or running. It's just a total goal. That's all you need, really.
And how would you suggest to someone that's not, is just getting into it, how do you kind of build up that mileage? Is it, have you got a bit of a plan on how you would do that?
The thing with sport walking, it is the most accessible form of endurance sport. And by saying endurance sport, that is, not sprinting or not middle distance. It is the most accessible form of endurance sport there is, because anybody who can walk can sport walk. It's just a question of gradually building it up. So it's a bit like the couch to 5k thing. And I'm also really keen that people are just trying to get fit and healthy actually look at this, because it's something you can just build into if you're walking to the bus stop or walking to the train station, well, work out how long it takes you, and then try and shave a minute off or 30 seconds off each time, and then put your training shoes on and go a little bit faster, and then leave your jacket at home so you can get a little bit hotter without getting sweaty shirts, and constantly be trying to motivate yourself and test yourself. So in terms of starting out, it really is a question of actually just saying, okay, I'm going to use walking as my way of getting fit, and then I'm going to do it gradually. And the first target would be 5 kilometres. And if you try and do it on trails, you've got the added motivation of the beautiful scenery. Sport walking is brilliant for mental health because you're out in the outdoors. I mean, it's made for trails, but you can do it in cities, on streets, it doesn't matter. But it's perfect for recentering yourself. And it's just about starting gradually. I had this thing a year or so back where I call it 5 a day, like on the vegetables, but it's 5 a day is 5k a day. And the good thing about that is you're doing 25 kilometres in the working week, but you're not doing 25 kilometres all in one go, or you're not thinking I've got to go 10k, it's got to be long distance. A lot of the training I did for Race to the Stones to walk 100 kilometres was doing double sessions. I would do 2 5k sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon or in the evening. And that bit of a break in between allows the muscles to recover. And the second session, then you're training slightly tired. So your muscles are learning what it feels like to keep going when you're slightly tired. So there's different ways of going about it, but you can, just an hour a day can get you going. In a way, it's very similar. It's very easy for anybody who's using walking just to get fit already, and a lot of people are. It's probably the most popular way of people getting fit, to go from that, and then all you do is you add a bit of challenge into it, which gives you a reason for doing it. Because I think quite often people struggle with, whether it's dieting or getting fit or going to the gym, the thing they struggle with is there isn't anything tangible that they're aiming for other than to lose weight. So where sport walking comes into play and offers so much is that it is all about the challenge. So you have one challenge, and then you have another challenge, then the next challenge. There's no end of challenges you can set yourself, and that then gives you the motivation to do what you need to do, and that you then forget about getting fit. You just get fit as a byproduct.
So where's your favourite place to walk?
My favourite place to walk would have to be the New Forest where I live. But I will clarify that, because I also adore the South Downs and I also adore Snowdonia. So it would be my favourite place because it's the place I walk the most. It's my home trails, but it is quite flat. It's a beautiful place to walk. You know, you have all the ponies, and I kind of take them for granted. But of course, people come down and they go, "Oh, this is brilliant," and you kind of have to pinch yourself. Right? We actually live in this place, and there are some beautiful routes. I want to do my route again through the forest. I did it in 18 hours, but when I was walking South Downs Way, I passed the 80-kilometre mark in 12 hours. So I'm kind of thinking, right, I need to do that again. I need to do it properly, and I need to do it under 12 hours. So there's all these this is the game, the way the mentality works. You start thinking, right, okay, I need to do that and do it that way. So the forest would be, the best place. But the South Downs are just phenomenal because you're up high and the views you get are fantastic. The trails are fantastic. South Downs Way is a phenomenal route. Really tough, really challenging. That's why I wanted to do it, but it is just beautiful. And then for me, Snowdonia is because I grew up. We went to holidays, always went every year to Snowdonia, and we used to go mountain climbing and rock climbing and everything. So yeah, those are my three favourite places. But yeah, the New Forest being the home trails is probably the best.